Today's topic is goalkeeping necessities for youth players. The presenter is Rick Granrid, and he is an NSCAA project, Club Standards Project consultant. Rick has accumulated 30 years of experience at the youth, collegiate, and professional levels. As a goalkeeper, he was an all-time high school great player in Illinois, appeared in 2 Division I national tournaments, and won a league championship with the Detroit Express as a professional player. Rick has a very varied coaching career. He coached at the University of Akron, Missouri Valley College, Chico State, and Southwestern University. He was the state director of coaching for South Texas Youth Soccer Association and was the director of coaching for several youth clubs. Rick has been an executive director for 2 youth organizations and the managing director of the Minnesota Thunder Professional Club. He is currently the director of operations and the goalkeeper coach for the Austin Aztecs, who were the 2013 Premier Development League Championship. Rick has also found time to author a book entitled Hey Coach, This Game is Fun. Welcome, Rick, to the presentation.
Thank you, David, and welcome, everyone. I think that there are more and more goalkeepers who are receiving specialized training these days, which I think is great, and I think it's necessary. However, you know, that training, if it occurs, usually happens in the first place because the techniques and tactics of the position are usually outside of the knowledge and skill sets of many coaches. The other thing is that most of the goalkeeper trainers, if they are getting training specifically, don't get to observe the players' games. So the assessment of the transference of training to the game can be very nebulous. Come game time, then, you know, the onus of providing guidance to the goalkeeper is on the team coach, who does not have the background, and so we have that whole vicious cycle. The session today is to cover some of the specific things that team coaches who are not goalkeepers still need to know. So corrective feedback can be provided to the player as well as the goalkeeping trainer. And by the way, as David said, I'm happy to briefly share any other thoughts or answer any questions at the end of this session, offline, or in a Q&A on our LinkedIn. Once again, just kind of as an introduction, youth players learn techniques best by repetitions of correct modeling. So again, most youth coaches don't have the goalkeeping background to demonstrate a proper throw or catch or dive. So to make matters more difficult, in coaching schools, we say, if you can't demonstrate, use a player who can, right? Well, the reality of it is, for goalkeeping, most of your youth teams don't have goalkeepers in there who can demonstrate either. So the youth coach is really in a difficult situation when it comes to dealing with goalkeepers in general. So I hope the following pictures and comments of some goalkeeping fundamentals can help you identify what's going right and what needs correcting in your goalkeeper's play. So the next few slides are going to be focusing on techniques that I feel are kind of falling through the cracks. A pet peeve of mine is that most youth goalkeepers receive the ball and man, they just whack it away, generally as fast as they can with a kick that results in a 50-50 chance to keep possession. As a coach, hopefully you're not happy when your field players do that, right? So why do we allow this kind of mindless whipping of the ball out to go on? Well, because we want the ball out of our defending half, and the sooner the better, and I know what you're talking about. However, we need to grow from that thinking to this one. When goalkeepers gain possession, they become the first attacker. No longer are they defenders. So while the punt is a necessary tool in the toolbox, I don't see enough young goalkeepers trying to help their team keep the ball. Passing with the feet and hand and being a reliable pass back to change the point of attack are critical to the goalkeeper's development. So the sling throw, which is the top picture, allows the keeper to deliver a strong service over a long distance to the feet of teammates or into the path of their runs. So it's generally a low and hard pass. But what do we typically see the young keepers do in terms of a throw? Well, it's usually the baseball throw. And that one is kind of like a wounded bird often, and it ends up in a player's chest or otherwise it bounces into their knees or shins. So we need to move from that. And believe me, learning the sling throw and teaching the sling throw is an arduous activity, but completely necessary to do. It's a great part of the warm-up if you want to try and help them work on the sling throw in the warm-up. Bowling, the bottom picture there, is used over short distances, very similar to a field player using the inside of their foot. So this is used over short distances, but again with the same result, trying to put it to their feet, their player's feet, or into the path of a run. Now certainly the size of the soccer ball relative to the size of the player's hand comes into play. However, these two throws must be trained and must be used in game situations, again, for the keeper to develop properly. So please try to encourage that. Finally, also engage the keepers as field players in your training sessions when you can. It will help them gain or retain confidence with the ball at their feet. The adult game has evolved to where the goalkeeper is the 11th field player. And the more the team has confidence to play back to the keeper to keep possession, rather than booting the ball out of bounds to give away a throw-in, and the more attacking opportunities you've created simply because we have the ball. Proper handling techniques, I think, are something that the youth coach can definitely assess properly and provide proper corrective feedback. But it is shocking to see how many youth goalkeepers catch incorrectly. And more importantly, how often little or no guidance is provided following that. So a couple of catches are put on your screen now. The first one is the contour catch, or the W. So this catching technique is used for balls that are shoulder and head height, not any lower than that. And this is kind of my main point, where I see keepers trying to use the W lower than that, so they're using the W really for the wrong service. On this contour W catch, the thumbs are behind the ball, forming that W. So this is a reinforcement. You know, without the thumbs behind, the ball goes through easy. And then finally, like you see in that upper picture, the ball is caught in front of the body. And so it's not close in to the chest or the head. This error causes the hands to be like a wall when we really want them to be like a cushion. So catching in front of the body allows kind of a give in the arms. And it also, just as important, allows the player to see the ball into the hands, just like a baseball player is looking for the ball into the bat when they swing it. The lower picture there, Peter, check, the basket catch is a technique for balls coming in below. So the main thing on the basket catch, this actually kind of is kind of a scoop also, but you want to get the body behind the ball for maximum coverage. And we always want to have the upper body over the ball and your butt kind of behind it to relieve and absorb the impact. Finally, on catching, I encourage training the reflexes as much as possible. I do it every single training session, even with the PDL guys. There's so many game situations which require reflexive movements. I don't really understand why most players don't get a steady dose of this in training, and especially even for coaches who aren't goalkeepers, you can use your imagination, and just go wild with it when it comes to anything reaction oriented. So I'm kind of wondering from the group if I'm a lone ranger on this or not. It wouldn't be the first time. But I honestly don't even see many goalkeeper trainers working too much on reflexes. So if you have any points on or any comments on that, that would be cool. All right, going on to the diving. So I'd like to kind of put a couple questions out to you and see what you think. So number one is, what do you think is wrong with this particular technique? I think he's going to make a save, but I also think he might be paying the price for it. So let's, to me anyways, this is kind of what it looks like. It looks like he's doing the Superman dive, or the diving into the pool. So these methods are going to cause him to land how, do you think? If you answered on his stomach or on his face, I would probably agree with you. So let's say that's the case. Let's say that the diving technique has caused him to land on his stomach, which is not good, by the way. Why is it not good for landing on his stomach? Because it shortens your reach to the ball on a dive. So my question would be, as a coach, what is your one coaching point to help him not dive on his stomach? And the answer to that question, in my mind, is that it looks like this player has probably used that first step to the ball sideways, almost parallel to the goal line. So if you imagine that kind of movement with that first foot, it automatically puts your chest and your hips jumping into the pool. So the coaching point is to make that first step out towards the ball at an angle. We always teach diving at angles and diving off of your goal line. And that would be the coaching point that would help this player dive a little bit better in the future. All right, diving again. There's a lot of discussion in some of the goalkeeping circles about when you're making an extension dive, so the ones that are going upper 90 or those kind of balls, what gives you more reach? So the one on the left is the lower arm swipe. So you're swiping upward with that lower arm, and the upper arm is trailing. And then you see check again on the other side, using his leading with his upper arm. So again, the picture on the left, I think the ball is going to go in the back of the net. And to me, the ball is going right to where the upper arm's hand could be. The picture on the right, again, shows almost a completely different body position. And so that upper arm goes across the body, and in my mind, you can reach higher. So I believe a good rule of thumb is if you have to make a save with one outstretched arm, I mean, we always would prefer two, but if you have to make it with one, shoulder height and lower, use the lower arm. Higher than that, then go ahead and lead with the upper arm. And again, if anyone has any comments or questions on this one, I'd love to hear from you. We can discuss it at the end or Q&A on LinkedIn. Catching high balls. So the three main points I want to bring up here are that, number one, you want to time the jump to catch it at its highest point. The high ball, it's intended for someone's head most of the time anyways. So you don't want to wait for it to drop in your hands. So you'll totally lose the advantage of using your hands. So you can see this girl is certainly reaching out and using her full advantage. Secondly, be aware of where the pressure is. So you can see the pressure there from the player in the white. The one-legged jump that the goalkeeper is using is vital, not only for height, but you can see also for protection. So the knee goes up to the side of where the pressure is. If that opposite leg would go up instead, then she gets hit, in the side, by the attacker and may lose possession of the ball. The third main point I'd like to make on this is you want to catch the ball in front of your face. So again, in this picture, it really looks pretty good. And you want to do that so, again, you can look the ball into your hands. So many of the high ball catching errors are made because the catch is attempted over the head, if you can imagine. And so they can't see it, so they're really catching it blind. This one you may or may not have heard before. I call it the restand. And basically, it's trying to be prepared for the second save or the second ball. And I think that we're generally overlooking the importance of making that second save. And again, if you don't know what I mean, that's the one where maybe the goalkeeper makes a great stop, but has to deflect it. But the loose ball then is followed up by either the same player or another attacking player. So we need to train the goalkeepers into the habit of immediate recovery following an initial save and getting themselves into a follow-up save position for that probable, second and many times third and fourth saves. And for me, and what I try to get this picture to show is that it appears this goalkeeper is recovering to his feet. And I try and emphasize the restand without the use of the knees to get to the feet, if you can. So if you're getting back to a standing position using the knees, that usually requires obviously additional movements and additional time. So without the knees, if the goalkeeper's prone, hopefully sideways, okay, then she can kind of rock up directly to the feet with the help of that opposite hand, very similar to what you see in the picture there. So thereby getting to the feet a lot more efficiently than getting stuck, on your knees. So that's kind of an intricate one maybe for some, but the bottom line is the coaches, for you guys, is to prepare the goalkeepers to always recover from the initial save and be able to reposition for that likely second ball. Okay, this is the first of a few tactical items I'd like to highlight that I see a bit. First of all, coaches, please observe your goalkeeper's starting position as your attack advances up the field. In my mind, the goalkeeper should mirror that advance. So, no standing under the crossbar when your team has the ball and you're attacking half. You don't want that. So it's like you can kind of think in your own mind, when you're attacking, do you know where your goalkeeper is? So the more advanced the ball is, the more advanced a position the goalkeeper should have within and outside of the penalty area. And you see that picture on the right, I think, is a really cool depiction of where you should be. And you can see the green color on the right translates to the number 4 green color on where the goalkeeper should be, and then likewise with the brown and the blue. So that really is a great picture of a way how to communicate to the goalkeeper, hey, where should you be when we have the ball in those certain parts. Now, the main reason or reasons for this type of positioning, number one is to cut out the potential danger from through balls. So, you know, as you know, there's always that foot race between a defender and attacker for that kind of ball. So if the goalkeeper is already in an advanced position, you know, she can deal with it quickly with little or no drama. Whereas if they stay back on the underneath the crossbar on the goal line, you always have that whole drama and come out goalkeeper and all of that stuff. The second reason for this positioning is also to assist defenders as they're dealing with balls played over them and are chasing them down. So when that happens, often those players have pressure on their heels. They've got their backs to the field of play. So the goalkeeper, again, could easily be utilized as a safety valve with a back pass to relieve that pressure. So always, please, guys, look for the positioning of the goalkeeper when depending upon where you are in the attacking part of the field. These slides are a little bit difficult to kind of show you, but I want to talk about near post positioning when the ball is wide. And in this first case, when it's wide and we have a severe angle, you know, on the end lines. I know the picture isn't quite depicting that. But what you can imagine, hopefully, with my speaking, that the situation that we're talking about is close to the end line. What's going to come is a tunnel ball, if you guys utilize that terminology. I'm a firm believer in terms of those kind of situations that the goalkeeper should be playing off of that near post from those severe angles. There's so many coaches and players who worry about, you know, not getting beaten on the near post. Well, I mean, I don't want to get beaten on any post. So if we are in these deep positions, where is the extremely likely target of the next ball, of that tunnel ball? Well, of course, it's going to be going central, right? So why not cheat off of the post a little bit that way, by a foot or so, or whatever it is. So when the ball comes across, the goalkeeper now is in a better position to cut it off before it gets across the goal mouth, or is in a lot better position to make a great stop on that far post if the ball does get to an attacker and they try and put it on goal. So, you know, as you know, the goalkeepers are often beaten just by inches, you know, in those kind of situations. So playing off that near post by those inches can often make the difference between a goal and a save. So these pictures are trying to show you the goalkeeper in what we would call an open stance. And I would encourage open stances on all crosses and corner kicks. So just to be clear, the open stance is where the feet and the body face the middle of the field. A closed stance would be one where the feet and the body face the cross or the corner or to the side of the field. So the benefits of a more open stance, kind of looking at, if you look at the pictures here, again, as before, where's the likely destination of any cross or corner? Well, one of them for sure is towards the middle. So that open stance provides really the most efficient footwork to get to the middle. Since we're already facing forward, the first step is already going to go towards the ball, to the middle. The closed stance is going to require an additional step to turn the body inside to get into position to make that step to the middle. So with the open stance, we immediately can get there. The closed stance has to make an additional step before you go to the middle. Now, on crosses, where's another likely destination for a cross or a corner? Well, certainly it's going to be the far post area or far post runner. So the open stance allows a goalkeeper to see the runners and the space because we're facing the field. And we can see those far post runners and space without losing sight of the ball that's out wide. Again, if you can imagine the closed stance, if you're facing the corner, like so many kids do, they can't see what's happening on their back post. So if they do want to take a look, they've got to completely swivel their head over to see, and so now they've lost sight of the ball. So anyways, I hope that makes sense on the open stances on crosses and corners. All right, so now obviously you see this kind of picture happens fairly often. We ask the goalkeepers to talk, right? We ask them to give information because they can see the whole field and all of that, yada, yada. Well, this is what I usually hear. I don't know about you guys. You know, number 13 is open. Drop in the middle. Watch the back door. So why is this not good? Why is this information not helpful? But that's what we always hear. And again, I don't hear too much guidance when we do hear that. It's not good because it's too vague. If you're a defender, you know, you're obviously in your defending third or something like that, so you're in a dangerous position. You're focusing on, you know, tracking your man or making a decision to tackle or delay or whatever. So she's got a few other things going on and can't really accurately, process that kind of ambiguous information. So how, again, do you help the goalkeeper provide better information? You want to encourage the guidance to be specific. So kind of going to my first examples. The number 13 is open. You know, more specific guidance would be, Johnny, drop and cover number 13. A lot more specific. The one about drop in the middle. Jack, slide over the middle. Again, a little bit more specific. And finally, on the backdoor one, watch a backdoor one. Steven, you take the far post runner. This is helpful. This is specific. You don't have to have the player, your teammate, think about it. You're telling him what to do in an important situation. So try and encourage your goalkeepers to be really specific on their guidance. Now, also, there's a slew, I think, of goalkeepers who literally are like chatterboxes out there, maybe even like play-by-play commentators. If there's an endless stream of information, well-intentioned or otherwise, it can become easily white noise to the players, and they tune it out. So if you have that commentator type, and they really need, or he really needs his right back to listen to something he has to say, oftentimes it literally falls on deaf ears. So you want to have relevant guidance, mostly encouraging, and specific information. Now, David Newberry, this was a fun picture you put in for me. And I think it's stretching, or it's really hurting my butt a lot and my side. I don't, David, I'm just giving you a hard time. Similar to the technical and tactical components discussed so far, the physical component for goalkeeping is also position specific. So remember that it is an anaerobic position. So it features more explosive, short bursts of high energy, followed by periods of relative inactivity. And also, coaches, understand that the majority of the fitness you probably do for your field players' benefit won't benefit the goalkeepers, at least position-wise. For some of you that maybe are coaching older players and you do some physical testing, like the Cooper test or the deep test, stuff like that, man, I get it that you want to involve the goalkeepers in those tests because, they're part of the team and it's a team activity and all of that. But I certainly would not utilize the results of any of those kind of tests in any sort of assessment or selection process. Recall or be sure to understand that the goalkeepers are best served physically by repetitive position-related movements, over a period of maybe 30 to 45 seconds. Core strength, your abs and your overall strength, those are good physical activities. Agility is good physical activities. These kind of things are much better than running, over extended distances or time. What I like to do in these situations is pluck out a piece of the game, that a goalkeeper the kind of movement that a goalkeeper will make in a game. And it may be, going to the near post and then the ball is going to be redirected so they have to go back to the center. Or they come out and then they need to recover back because the shot or the cross never came. Whatever it is, different movements that the goalkeepers do in a game, and just recreate that and make it repetitive, again, over that 30 or 45-second time period, and you have yourself a very good position-specific physical activity. The psychological component, again, is also different for the goalkeeper. And it's mostly due to the solitary kind of individual nature of the position. So, a midfielder can give the ball away dozens of times, per game or per training session, and sometimes hardly a word is ever said. Or else maybe it's, unlucky or a good idea or, all of that stuff. But a goalkeeper makes one mistake and it's a goal against us. The game stops. All our eyes are on our mistake. It's just a completely different psychological dynamic going on. So let's talk about mostly during games, because this is where you guys are involved with the goalkeepers. To me, providing a goalkeeper with occasional instruction from the sideline is okay. But certainly berating a mistake, like some coaches tend to do with field players, is not really helpful at all. The goalkeeper, more than anyone on that field, knows that a mistake has been made. And really what's needed is some communication, or perhaps no communication really at all, which allows that keeper to put it behind him so we can deal with the next situation successfully. Personally, I make very few instructional comments during the games. Largely, it's going to be distribution related. I'm not going to make my comments on positioning on crosses and all that kind of stuff, yelling at them in the middle of the game. I will reserve those kind of comments most likely, in training and sometimes at halftime. It just kind of depends. So, but I kind of, having said that, I also encourage you to manage very carefully comments even at halftime, relative to mistakes and post-game even. So, you as a coach, you're assessing the frequency and the type of mistakes the goalkeeper makes, just like you're doing with your field players. But remember that most of the youth school, I shouldn't say remember, that you usually don't have the luxury of multiple goalkeepers. So if you want that kid to give the best that she's got, in the second half or even in the next game, it's really important, how you frame criticism, and when you do it. So in my mind, the younger the keeper, the more encouraging and specific information to improve should be provided. Now, in summary, and I've kind of stopped a little bit early, kind of on purpose. I think there's going to be a lot of questions, and I would like to be able to respond to those, online, or excuse me, in our presentation here. But as a summary, real quick, we want to. I'd encourage the coaches to allow and encourage specific goalkeeping training. It's such a unique skill set, and it's such a vital part of the field for you that they require some specific training. What if you can't give specific technical training to your keepers? How do you sort that one out in your own training sessions? The best advice I can give is involve the goalkeepers in exactly the same activity that you're doing with your field players, but have them use goalkeeping techniques to, receive the ball, to distribute the ball. Anything like that, let them play as a normal player in your activity, but they are the one or the ones who are using goalkeeping techniques, and that way you can address quite a few, actually, in your regular course of training. Secondly, if you're not a goalkeeper, as a coach, I think it's still important for you to recognize what the basic goalkeeping technical and tactical, requirements are. Like we said again before, your trainer, your goalkeeper trainer is probably not there. And so it's up to you to get some guidance, or at least to take some notes down as to what is going wrong and what the goalkeeper trainer can fix later on. So you do need to take a little bit of responsibility to learn about the position, and I'm happy that you're tuning in to listen to this. Fitness really for the goalkeeper should be related to goalkeeping. Once again, if you're going to have them involved because they're part of the team, great, got that. But it's not helping them from their position. So again, like we mentioned earlier, try and get fitness activities that relate to the goalkeeper. And finally, be aware of the different psychological dynamic that the goalkeepers face. They're out there by themselves. They're, all the mistakes are for everybody to see. They're the ones that have to pick the ball back up out of the net when they're scored on. It's just a different mindset. Also, many of you, I assume, are probably coaches of younger players. In my mind, as a former goalkeeper, I think you want to make sure that the goalkeepers are field players first, they're soccer players first. So the more playing time of the game that they get, the better that they are, or the better it is for them, excuse me. So when they become and they want to focus on being a goalkeeper, you know, they have the awareness of a field player. They have the comfort level with the ball of a field player. Our goalkeeper with the Aztecs right now, he was a forward throughout high school, and I believe one of the top goal scorers in the high school league here in Central Texas. So imagine his advantage of, you know, on a breakthrough situation. He knows exactly what that is like, even from being a forward himself. So again, the psychological part is important, and we need to pay attention to that. Folks, thanks very much for kind of allowing me to be part of your day today, and I welcome any questions and here at the end, and I can respond to any other questions we don't get later on LinkedIn. Thank you.
Thanks, Rick. Let's take a couple of questions, but before we do, let me just remind people that they will receive a copy of the manual Play Like Manchester United, which is a manual that's focusing on 9 activities, all color illustrated. So that will be available to everybody as part of the attendance at tonight's webinar. Before we do go to questions, just let me remind you that this is a recorded version, so this will be with you tomorrow some point over the course of the day. Look out for an email from me that will have the link back to YouTube so you can watch this webinar recording. Also, the questions asked in this session for Rick will be made available on LinkedIn, and if you're not already a member, a link to LinkedIn will be sent to you so you can join the group. A few questions that we've received, Rick, relate to when you should start goalkeeper training with young players, and once you've started it, when do you start specializing?
David, that's a great question, and we do deal with that often. Again, in my mind, we do small-sided games for a reason at those younger ages. And what's the reason? Well, so we get more touches on the ball. And as I mentioned in my summary, you know, it's very important for the goalkeepers to get those same touches as field players do. And so if we're looking for a concrete answer, I would say when your league starts with goalkeepers, okay, that might be U9, it may be U8. I think that obviously they need to start circling in. One thing that I had done in one of the organizations I worked with, I did goalkeeping sessions for rec teams. So the entire team came to me, and we did a goalkeeping session for all of them. And in that way, the coach then, not only could we see, okay, who's kind of bent, you know, in that direction, but also, you know, at those younger ages, you want to kind of circle in players to go into that goalkeeping role and see how they like it, see how they don't like it. And what a great way to do that is to, if you can get a goalkeeping session for all of your players, and when you want to cycle those players in and out, it's not like a complete deer in the headlights. They've had a little bit of goalkeeping. So I would say, you know, to start off, probably U9, you know, is not bad, you know. I have one I train on my own, U10 has just become U11, and he's fantastic. When to specialize, like I said, probably, I'm thinking, you know, probably U12 would not be bad. U14 would not be bad. But as I mentioned, my Aztecs goalkeeper was a forward throughout high school. So I hope that answers your question.
Okay, and let's take one more. This is from Jose. He asks, when is it important, when is it important to teach when to punch and when to tip the ball over the bar?
Excellent. Jose, thanks. That's an excellent question, too. Now, the tip, remember the tip is really redirecting. All right, that's redirecting the ball kind of on its current flight. So we're not trying to box it away or anything like that. So if you're tipping, that means you're in a position where I can put it over the crossbar or I can put it, you know, around the goalpost. I'm not trying to deflect it in any way. The boxing one or the punching one, that's going to be largely on crosses that are coming into your box, into the middle and into a dangerous area. And what I need to do at that point in time is I want to get it the heck out of there. So, you know, the rule of thumb is high, wide, and far. So, you know, we want to try and bide as much time for our defenders to reorganize once I punch that ball away. And for me as a goalkeeper, and if I'm coming out to box that ball, I'm not in good position either. I'm out of position. So I need time to get back into a better saving position myself. So anything that needs to be changing the course of the direction of the ball, we want to box it. If we're going to just continue the same path of the ball but slightly redirect it, that's when you